Come with me to post-war Japan, a country of beauty and variety, where East meets West, mingling in modern dress, in city planning, and in industry, but where country life and customs still follow ancient ways. Gardens lie about the Kanaya Hotel near the shrine of Nikko. Religious shrines are dear to the people and visited by great crowds. On our way to Nikko, one of the most venerated temples, we shall stop overnight at the beautiful Hotel Kanaya, with attractive grounds and gardens. A popular saying among the Japanese is, do not use the word sublime until you have seen Nikko, expressing their admiration for this 320-year-old Shinto temple. Situated in a hilly area, thickly wooded with cedars, this Toshogo shrine comprises several buildings on different levels, reached by many stairs and torii gates, all the structures being heavily decorated and brightly colored. One bit of decoration on the wall of the sacred stable shows these original three wise monkeys. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. A constant stream of people comes here daily. And in addition to it being a must for all tourists, the school children are conducted to the shrine in droves, as they are to all the temples and historic spots. Nikko and proceeding across country by auto, we find a few cherry trees in blossom, which we had been so hopeful of seeing. But there are only a few, as the season is a bit late in May. This charming little Hodo waterfall takes our attention briefly, and we meet some native young folks out on an outing, and a couple with a cute baby. On to Lake Chuzenzi and its shrine, where crowds of people are picnicking by the shore, and little boats come and go. While in the distance, the snow-topped mountains furnish a picturesque background. Children are in the great majority here, and as everywhere, they are happy and good-natured and notably well behaved. Fortunes are here for sale by these attractive girls. And as I understand it, if one is dissatisfied with his fortune, he hangs it on the tree. By the appearance of things, many a fortune is less than satisfactory. The temple at the lake shore is imposing in appearance and draws many visitors, including the customary quota of school children. Here a final peek at cherry blossoms against an azure sky and the lake background, and an accommodating native woman to model for us. Driving from Tokyo another day toward Fuji Hakone National Park, we are fortunate to get a glimpse through the haze of Fujiyama, the mountain sacred to all Japanese. The perfect cone of this extinct volcano is crowned with eternal snows and visible on a fine day for miles about. But unfortunately, such fine days are rare, and many visitors are disappointing and fail to see Fuji at all. Intensive culture of the land is imperative, as 85% of the country of Japan is mountainous, and the remaining 15% must attempt to feed the more than 80 million population. While waiting for a train, we are amused by the girls and boys in the car on the other track, full of fun like children everywhere, and more curious about us, strangers, than the other way around. The dumpy, round-faced girls are typical of the Japanese country women. Kyoto is our next stop, and what an interesting and historical place it is. For here was Japan's capital for more than 10 centuries, ending in 1858 when moved to Tokyo. The city today, though considerably modernized, is still a priceless depository for the country's ancient art treasures. Here also are many old Buddhist temples, Shinto shrines, palaces, and gardens. This is a phenomenal wisteria plant growing on a trellis about a block long. The kimonos are more prevalent here for the women's garb, and the customs are more traditional. This garden lies behind a silk weaving factory, which I understand was once the home of a wealthy nobleman. And its well laid out walks and ponds and shrubbery contribute one of the finest gardens in this fair city. Two of the factory girls display some of the silk wares woven here, all hand loomed and exquisite in coloring and texture. In the ponds are enormous goldfish and carp, for which the Japanese are famous, and our little friend poses feeding them. This was our native guide showing us around Kyoto. And he was a bit impatient about our staying so long in this garden for picture taking. Walking toward us are not three little maids from school, as occur in Gilbert and Sullivan's Mikado, but some trim airline hostesses. Kyoto's Golden Pavilion, nearly surrounded by water, glints in the sunshine like a jewel, making one of the most beautiful of all her temples. And here, perhaps, are the most children of all. These children walk in columns 2 by 2, led by teachers or older girl and boy guides. Kyoto side streets are narrow but interesting, with colorful signs telling the nature of the shops, and ladies clad in kimonos, which are a charming remnant of old Japan. What a pity that in Tokyo and the other metropolitan centers, the kimonos are giving way so much to Western dress. open front grocery store here presents an inviting appearance with foodstuffs displayed in a row of open baskets. Should you need a shoe shine, you will find both men and women plying that trade on the sidewalks, where they sit on little mats all day long, doing an excellent job at a fraction of American prices. Among the great temples, the Toidiji Shrine at Nara stands out as the tallest, housing the largest statue of Buddha in all the world. This colossal image of bronze stands, or rather sits, 55.5 feet tall and weighs nearly 500 tons. Adjoining the temple is Japan's largest park, a portion of which is a deer preserve, where 150 tame deer roam, eagerly nibbling from visitors' hands the little cakes on sale there. And this lane of antique stone lanterns, we are told, contains 1,500 of these art objects. And now Tokyo, the country's capital, greets us, the largest city in population in the world, numbering 8 million or more people. This city was destroyed in World War II to the extent of 80%, but has risen from its ashes in the intervening 14 years to become a metropolitan miracle, a monument to the industry and determination of its citizens. Here in the downtown area are wide streets lined with buildings as modern as any in Los Angeles. Department stores comparable to Robinson's or Bullock's, and shops as attractive as any in Beverly Hills, not to mention women as fashionably dressed. And the street traffic of buses, trucks, automobiles, and streetcars just as busy as 7th and Broadway. The Ginza is Tokyo's Fifth Avenue, or Wilshire Boulevard, and with its handsome stores and flamboyant neon signs, a delightful place to shop. Atop one of Ginza's big department stores, we find this roof garden with free entertainment for the crowd, a sort of Bergen Charlie McCarthy act, delighting young and old. Tokyo has a number of very popular and charming tea houses. Several of them are built in the form of one gallery over another with a central open well. And in this central well is an orchestra playing. This display of food in a restaurant window is typical of most of the restaurants, showing the menu available. This is one of the tea houses mentioned, the very modern and artistic Surabashi. The orchestra mentioned, which plays in the center pit, goes up and down by elevator to the different levels. They play semi-classical and classical Occidental music, and it is a very excellent orchestra. There is a saying in Tokyo that only the rich and the American tourists shop on the Ginza, while the common people trade at a combined amusement and shopping center called Asakusa, shown here. Along its main street, several blocks in length, are a multitude of small shops selling everything one could wish at prices within the reach of all. This is a street for foot traffic only, no vehicles, and has the true atmosphere of old Japan amidst a welter of color. Open-air altar where the devout light incense at a charcoal burner, performing a ritual wherein the smoke is caught in the hands and carried to the face, head, or any part of the body in need of blessing. To them it seems to have a healing or sanctifying effect. Perhaps the origin of the term holy smoke. This is the spring festival season, at which time crowds of noisy young men swarm along the streets, bearing aloft something like altars, all brightly decorated and hung with banners. Here are two of the young men dressed up as dragons and performing a spirit dance for us. Returning to the farming activities of the country, let us look for a moment at rice culture, which furnishes the main staple of Japanese diet, along with fish. Rice is sprouted in boxes of earth, then transplanted stalk by tiny stalk into prepared beds underwater, requiring endless hours of back-breaking toil by men and women alike. Other areas are devoted to tea culture, one of their very important crops. And these plants are given extreme care, often grown under the shade of straw mats, supported on poles, or protected by caps of straw. We find women busily picking tea leaves, collecting them in baskets. They all wear white headcloths covered by wide straw hats. They seem much amused at the funny tourists who want to take their pictures. All but this overseer lady who is put out by it. You have all heard of cultured pearls. Well, Japan is the place whence they come. And Mikimoto, the pioneer of the industry and largest producer. Visiting his pearl island on a rainy day, we take pictures under difficulties of the girls who dive for oysters. They are all in their late teens and more skilled swimmers and divers, apparently, than the boys at this work. Each girl enters the water with a wooden tub into which she throws the oysters brought up from the sea bottom. the raindrops dappling the water here in the picture. The oysters are taken ashore into the processing sheds, where they are opened and put in a piece of mother of pearl called a seed. Then they are placed in buckets and let down into the water again and kept for 3 to 5 years, during which time the pearls form. They are eventually brought up, opened, pearls removed, graded, sorted, perforated, and strung. Nagoya is our next city to visit, third in size after Tokyo and Yokohama. A modern industrial center with fine hotels and stores and business buildings. We see the native population hurrying about their affairs or lining up, as here, to wait patiently for streetcars. The ancient and historic town of Kamimura lies upon the shores of the Pacific, some 30 miles from Tokyo. Here is to be found the huge bronze Daibutsu Buddha, dating back to 1253, an object of worship and admiration for all the people. Originally, this 42-foot tall image was housed in a spacious temple, the roof supported by 63 great pillars. But this was destroyed by a tidal wave in 1495 and never rebuilt. Here we find hordes of visitors, especially schoolboys and girls. A more camera-toting crowd you never saw anywhere. Nearly every student carries a camera. And little chaps of 8 or 10 are avid in pursuit of the photographic art. At the end of the excursion, all the students line up for their official picture. This is sumo wrestling, or properly called smo, an ancient and honorable sport. Great elimination contests are held several times a year, drawing great crowds and being televised over the country. The contestants are professional, huge men weighing from 200 to 300 pounds, some looking very fat, the greater weight doubtless being a real advantage. The rules seem simple, all holes being at the waist or above, and a match is decided by one wrestler throwing his opponent or pushing him out of the rather small ring, some 15 feet across. Much formality precedes the bout, with a great deal of posturing and strutting. But when action starts, these huge men are amazingly agile, and a contest rarely lasts more than 20 or 30 seconds. about, the official, very dignified, comes in with his fan and indicates the winner. No trip to Tokyo would be complete without a visit to the theaters, perhaps a kabuki house where are performed the ancient classical dramas, and now we see a Spanish number, all performed by Japanese girls, there being no male performers. Rocket ship arrives from Mars and queer little men in green emerge. After some tussling, they all seem to make up and agree to live happily ever after. All very delightful.